Welcome to the Roofing Business Growth Circle podcast. The roofing podcast built specifically for roofing contractors and roofing business owners who want more profit, better systems, and real options for the future. I'm Jacques Skuteeki, business innovation strategist, and on this show we talk about what actually works in a roofing business, from roofing leads and sales growth, mindset, automation, follow-up systems, and building a roofing company that doesn't depend on you every day. If you're a roofer, you want to run a faster, more profitable business without hype or fluff, you're at the right place right now. Today, I have a special guest. My guest is Shel Horowitz. And Shel is a advocate of green space. He is the author of 2 guerrilla marketing books. And what he does, he works with home repair service market to give them a better insight on how they can position themselves so they can beat the competition and acquire and attract new type of clients. Welcome, Shel, to our podcast. And tell me a little bit more about your book, Guerrilla Marketing, Heal the World. So what is that all about, and how does that connect with what you do?
Thanks, Jacques. It's so great to be here with you and your community. It's about the idea that you can actually turn attention to making the world better into a profit center. How cool is that?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So it's really quite fascinating because I did quite a bit of research for this book and the books that came before it. And what I found over and over again is that it's a success recipe. It's not something you do because you think you have to, but it's something you do to make your business better. So, and in the case of roofers, there's some very lucrative niches that open themselves up to that. So the first thing to do is to figure out that competing on price is always going to be a losing cause. You don't want to turn yourself into a commodity. You don't want to attract the bottom feeders who are going to haggle you over every dime, nor do you want to attract the competitors who are going to come in, drop their prices 10% below yours and a race to the bottom. You don't need the shrinking profits. You don't need the higher stress. Here's what you do instead: differentiate. And one way to do that is by being an environmentally friendly roofer, which has many sub-niches. I list 3 of them here as examples. You can do an actual green roof with plants growing out of it. You can do solar roofing tiles. You can do deep insulation so that the R value goes way up and the heating bill goes way down. And then you have to, of course, market that. I like this little slogan of press partnership to profits. So you get media attention, you do what I'm doing right now and talk on podcasts and radio shows, you send out press releases. I like story behind the story press releases, actually, which are not new roofer has a green option. No, and you tell the story that the clients want to hear, and you tell the stories that are kind of about the clients. So it would be more like how to save $10,000 a year on your heating and air conditioning bills and make the world greener. Something just as an example headline. And I write these, so you can come find me if you need help with them. The nice thing is once you put the marketing machine in place, then you have people coming to you and saying, I hear you do this, can you help me? Which is a lot better than picking up the phone and smiling and dialing and having the phone slammed down in your ear. The other nice thing is I'm 69, so I think if I were a roofer in, let's say 50 or older, I'd be figuring out how to get off the ladders and into something more comfortable at a certain point in my life. Maybe not right away, but at some point you're going to feel like you don't want to do that anymore. So it's very easy, if you're an expert on some aspect of green roofing, to pivot to consulting. Meanwhile, you're bringing your marketing costs down, you're finding it very easy to get testimonials and referrals, and you are benefiting your community and the planet. There's actually kind of a circle, all of these what I call a virtuous circle, as that all of these things build on each other. Each little piece of it makes all the others stronger. revenue and profit, customer loyalty, opening new markets, better relations with your staff, and even get your vendors excited, and also maybe some nonprofits that partner with you. You've all been told that this doesn't work in the business environment. You have to be totally hardcore profit focused. The reality is, it works really well. In fact, higher purpose yields quite a few benefits, so you can make the difference and the profit. You can even win over the bean counters as you build the environmental and social good into the core of your business. Here are some companies that you've heard of for sure that are doing this. Clothing manufacturer Patagonia, ice cream Ben and Jerry's, a flooring company which you in the building trades may be familiar with called Interface, which was originally a very traditional flooring company, and the owner got the green religion about 20 years in and completely reinvented the business. And now they do things like collect used nylon fishing nets that are polluting the oceans and make them into floor tiles. Here's a building you've all heard of. The Empire State Building did a deep energy retrofit quite a few years ago. At the time, they were saving $4 million a year. I would guess that that's probably now up around $6 million. This thing cost $13 million, so they've got a 33% ROI. Nice, eh?
Wow.
So the nice thing is that profitable products and services that improve lives and the environment create wins for all the players. This is one guy who did this. He was one of the geniuses involved with the Empire State Building project. And this is his house that he built in 1984 in Aspen, Colorado, which has an entire economy built on cold weather. He doesn't have a furnace. He doesn't need one. It's warm enough that he's growing bananas in his sunroom. It was a 4,000 square foot house, and the extra energy features paid themselves back in 10 months. When I heard him speak quite some time ago, his household electric bill was $5. Even if you multiply that by 10 by now, that's pretty good for 4,000 feet in the snow belt. Think about what that would be like if everybody was building like that since then. We wouldn't be having a carbon crisis. We wouldn't be dependent on foreign oil or fracking or nukes or energy wars, and we'd have a whole lot more money to invest in other things. You've heard, of course, this won't work here. Well, why not? I love this quote from Muhammad Ali. Impossible is not a fact. It's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration. It's a dare. So to make it work in a place where maybe it didn't work before, here are a couple of questions. Why did it fail? What's different now? What else needs to change? And how can you make sure that the stakeholders feel like they own the process? And here are 4 ways to get there. Get rid of your limiting assumptions, have an abundance mindset, figure out where you want to end up and work backward to how to achieve it, and bring in all your creativity. So, for example, when my house, which was built in 1743, was built, the going wisdom was that you could not go faster than a horse. This little puppy on the screen is the International Space Station, 17,500 miles per hour. Ooh! I don't think any horse can do that. Abundance, think about your farmer friends. Think about planting a single kernel of corn that becomes a 10-foot stalk with maybe 15 or 20 ears, and each of those has a few hundred kernels that can in turn become another 10-foot tall corn plant, and it just, spirals out. Think about Thomas Edison. He was asked, how did it feel to fail 10,000 times before you invented the light bulb? He said, I didn't fail. It was a 10,000 step process. I invented the light bulb. Steve Jobs told his engineers to get 1,000 songs in a pocket. He didn't say build a better Walkman. You can go really far out with this stuff. This was a hypothetical building that was done for us, a contest about how to clean up the Pacific Ocean with a skyscraper that can actually do that. It was not built as far as I know, but it's a really cool idea, and it gives an idea of what's possible. So when you're talking to consumers, here are some of the talking points you can use. You're going to be more comfortable, luxurious. You're going to save money. It's more convenient. You can perhaps build community, network with all the other people who have the same kind of green roof you have, maybe go in together on the order and get some quantity discounts from people like you, and having fewer problems such as fuel shortages. Now, when you're talking to the bean counters, you have different talking points. You want to talk about the profitability, which you get both by lowering costs and by charging more. The staff lower turnover, sorry. Customers who are loyal want to come back with their friends. Suppliers who really respect what you're doing and are helping to make things better. And let's face it, in construction, host communities can be a problem sometimes. Overregulation, building inspectors breathing down on your neck. When you're doing this kind of a building, you're more likely to be treated as an ally by them than as an enemy. So you've all heard the word sustainability. My website is called Going Beyond Sustainability because sustainability is stopping things from getting worse. I want more than that. I want them to get better. So one of the ways that it gets better is that as you do these things, you open up new markets for yourself. As I've said several times, you're bringing costs down while increasing revenues, and you're also, the PR you get is going to be much more positive, and you're building loyalty and productivity among your employees, among your customers, among your neighbors. It's a great situation. So let's look at abundance. Conservation can be a path to abundance. These are not particularly construction related examples, but they show just what is possible. Why are we throwing away 134 million pounds of food a day in the United States while people are hungry? And there on the bottom half is some ways that we can fix that. Some of that will involve laws being changed so that some of these things that are now illegal can become legal. That's not going to be your job, but other people are out there working on those things so that less food gets thrown away and more of it gets returned for use. And of course, when it's all done, after all that, there will still be some stuff you have to dispose of. Feed it to the pigs instead of to the landfill. I mentioned interface before. In one of their plants, they took out a whole bunch of curvy, narrow piping and replaced it with something that looks like this, a big, fat, straight one. And they saved 92% of the energy in that process. Now, if you remember one thing from this presentation, I hope it's this. I live in the Northeast where we are trained to brush our teeth this way. Turn the water on full force, let it run for 3 minutes, wet your toothbrush. It's running the whole time while you're brushing. You rinse it off. No. Turn the water on for a tiny stream, wet your toothbrush, turn it off again, add the toothpaste, brush your teeth, then turn it back on to rinse teaspoons instead of gallons. And we can bring that mindset to every part of our lives and every part of our businesses. So this is a company called D-Light. They're global. And they sell LED solar-powered lights instead of the toxic and flammable and highly dangerous kerosene and poor lighting, I might add, kerosene lanterns that have been used before. There's health benefits, there's safety benefits, there's a ladder out of poverty because these kids you see here are doing their homework can get better grades because they can see better. And their parents maybe can start a cottage industry because they can see well enough to do it after a day of farming. And we have plenty of renewable energy. In fact, renewable energy is going to keep going down in cost while fossil fuels and nuclear continue to climb. And this one fact, more solar energy falls on the earth every single hour than we use in a year. So even if it was only every day, that would still be, 360x what we need. That could power a lot of data centers. This is a very interesting experiment in circular economy. There is a brewery that produces beer and it also produces used barley, which can then be used to grow a mushroom crop. The mushroom waste can turn into a fish food. The tilapia that are eating that then enrich the greens and herbs with their waste, which in turn feed the brewery again. And meanwhile, they're extracting pollutants and heavy metals and reselling them, and they're reusing the heat. Pretty cool. This is what happens when we think about circular and biomimicry processes. So this is a guy who's really into that world. Nature's intelligence can reduce negative human impact by 90%. And this woman is Janine Benyus. She is the mother of biomimicry, and she taught me that if you brought a spider web up to the scale of humans, if spiders were as big as we are, that spider web is strong enough to stop a jet. that any leaf is a more efficient a more efficient solar collector than anything humans have ever come up with, and that certain bugs like the Namib desert beetle shown here know how to pull water out of the desert. So we can learn a lot from them. Now, back to consumers for a minute. Why do you want to do this? You'll do it because 76% of consumers would prefer and will switch for a brand that supports making the world better. And because different ethnic sectors have a lot of discretionary buying power, and they're going to use it to make the world better. And if it's going to be the same or cheaper to do the green thing over time, and one of the things to make green analyses work is you have to look at the long term. You can't look at, oh, it's going to cost you $30,000 to put up solar roofing tiles on this roof. You instead look at and show your customers and prospects that if you pay $3,000 a year over 10 years and you are getting back $6,000 in energy savings or $10,000 in energy savings, let's just say it was 10. So that is $70,000 of money you didn't have to spend at the end of those 10 years. Now, I have written 8 marketing books. I'm going to show you 2 of them. This is my most recent one, Guerrilla Marketing to Heal the World, that I flashed earlier and Jacques talked about. That one is all about how businesses can build this kind of social and environmental good into profitability, and profitability into the environmental and social good. And this one is Grassroots Marketing. It's an older book. It's from 2000. So it does cover the internet, but it doesn't cover, for example, social media. But it's a really good Marketing 101 book, and almost everything that's in there is still true. It's just that there's a lot of things that could have been added since then. And those are originally $22.50, but I've knocked the price down to $10 for individual paperbacks. And also, if you have a sales force, I can work out a bulk deal with you. And you can give everyone who works for you one of these books, and they'll be well prepared then when people ask them questions about your new line of work. Okay, I also have freebies for you. Go on goingbeyondsustainability.com and click on freebies. And one of the things you can get from there is that normally if somebody is a prospect for me, I'll give them 15 minutes on the phone. But for you, it'll be 30 minutes. And that's enough time to really explore, okay, so, because of your capabilities in this and this and this, I think this particular technology might be one you may want to explore as what you might offer in your eco-roofing business. And I'll leave you with this question: how will your roofing business harness this powerful strand? And here's how to get a hold of me, and how to get the freebies, and also how to get today's slides. Thanks so much, and I'm happy to take some questions.
Wow, thank you for the jam-packed content. A lot of great ideas, new ways of looking at things. I really want to say thank you, and I appreciate your time in sharing this with our audience. And that being said, before you go, if you're a roofing contractor or roofing business owner on today's episode hits close to home, make sure you subscribe to the Roofing Business Growth Circle podcast, or check out our YouTube channel. Each week, we share practical strategies to help you grow profits, build better systems, and run a roofing business that doesn't depend on you every single day. And if you want help identifying what to fix first in your roofing business, check the links in the description to take the next step. You can connect directly with Shel, or you can connect with me. And then I want to say thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you at the next episode.